Move on to agenda 9. This is Huscote Farm, Banbury, a rather large industrial estate, and it's being presented by Andy Batson.
We've got virtual speaker.
Yeah. Is he there?
He's just joined now, yes. I'm just here, George. The virtual speaker's now in the
It'll look the bloody same to me.
He's not showing his camera yet, but he is definitely he's there. There he is.
Yes, I will, Chairman. There are numerous updates to this, which I will deal with once I've run through the presentation, if I may. This application submitted last year, 15 weeks ago. We have a determination period due to expire in 5 days' time, which is why it's been brought forward to you this evening. The application proposes 140,000 square metres, or 1.5 million square feet, if you prefer, of B8 retail warehouse distribution sheds, just to the north of Junction 11 of the M40, to the east of Banbury. The application, you may recall, was submitted in identical form a year ago. It was appealed for non-determination, but was withdrawn from that appeal immediately prior to the start of the scheduled public inquiry. This application is the same proposal on the same site, and the documentation that has been submitted up until this week is identical to that which was previously submitted. The site in aerial form, you see, is immediately opposite the Frontier Park development, which, since this aerial image was taken, has now been completed with 3 large warehouse sheds, all of which are, as at today, currently vacant. The proposal would have 2 points of access, you see with the red access point, which would be off the Daventry Road to its utilising the existing farm track to Huscote Farm, and then a further one to the south, which would be at the bend in the A361 Daventry Road, just before its access to the Junction 11 of the M40. Although in outline the proposed parameter plan indicates 10 areas of the site, approximately 3/4 of the red edge application site being suggested as a developable area, and 10 platforms to be created to accommodate warehouses of various different sizes. The illustrative layout plan provides a little bit more detail, as you can now see. The 2 central, although illustrative, the 2 central buildings would be significantly larger than those on the opposite side of the road at Frontier Park. The others some of similar size, the sort of, if I say the medium-sized ones, and then the smaller ones slightly smaller than those on the opposite side of the road. But cumulatively 140,000 square metres of accommodation. The coloured landscape plan shows that the higher land to the east would be retained as open area and be further landscaped, and that the buildings would be kept to the western 2/3 of the site, as it had been in the previous application. In terms of the access way, as I said, the northernmost access way, which is this particular one, utilises the existing point of access as a farm track to Huscote Farm, and then there would be a realignment at its southern end of the Daventry Road to create a new roundabout, a widened dual carriageway stretch between the M40 junction 11 and that roundabout, and then a creation of the road going into the site. At junction 11, too far. At junction 11 itself, there would be a widening of Daventry Road with an additional slip road to create three lanes for a short stretch running into the roundabout, and then further works are proposed to the south of the roundabout on the west side, the Hennif Way side of the roundabout, to create an additional third lane. Quite how that would be accommodated given the 15-metre drop in levels, I'm not sure, but that is what is being suggested. In terms of the topography, I'm sure local members will be well aware that the land rises considerably from west to east. By way of contrast, the developable area, the 2/3 of the site to the west side, would be at between 100 metres and 121 at its highest point in the centre here, metres high. In contrast, the Daventry Road is at about 100 metres high. The Frontier Park is just below at about 99 metres. So the majority of about a third of the developable area will be between 5 and 20 metres taller in ground level than the Daventry Road. And the proposed warehouse buildings themselves would be between 15 and over 20 metres high. So certainly on the highest point of the site they would be significantly visible. In terms of agricultural land quality, whilst it didn't form part of the original submission, as part of the recent submissions by the applicant, they have provided this. This is the coloured plan from a new agricultural land quality assessment, which reveals the darker area, the black and shaded cross-hatched area, is grade 3A land, i.e. best and most versatile. The green shaded is class 3B. Approximately, therefore, 40% of the developable area would fall within best and most versatile agricultural land. In terms of the views towards the site, this is from the Chacombe Road to the north. You can just make out one of the Frontier Park sheds, the northernmost one. The application site would sit within the area of the red identified patch, just beyond that hedgerow on the horizon as viewed. So although it wouldn't be particularly noticeable from this area, because it falls away beyond that hedge ever so slightly, nonetheless the buildings, by virtue of their massing and height, would still be visible from this view from the north. Moving to the Daventry Road itself and closer to the site, you will see to the right of the image one of the central one of the Frontier Park units, and you'll see this is the Huscote Farm entrance lane, and you'll see the ridge that the development would be going part way up. and its relative height relative to the Daventry Road itself. A little further along, this is the entrance to Frontier Park, and again, all of that area that is in that site that is green, apart from the top of the hill area, would be occupied by the 10 proposed warehouse buildings. That's just looking the other way north, past Frontier Park, with the proposed site to the right. This is the proposed access point from the south on the bend in the 361. So the roundabout itself would be partially on the road and partially into the site. There is a drop of levels at this point, so it would be a tricky exercise of construction, but it could be achieved. But there's about a 2-metre drop from the road there into the site. And then the final image is from the A422 Brackley Road, looking north. Much of that view from the 422 is actually blocked by quite high hedgerow, but there is, this being part of it, there's about a 50-metre gap in that tall hedgerow where you get clear views into the application site. If I just move back to the site area, I'll run through now a plethora of new documentation that has been submitted this week. As I mentioned at the start, we originally had the same application submitted to us that was submitted last year. Once the application agenda was published, we received an awful lot of comment. National Highways have, I'll start with Councillor Beer indicated that he would wish to speak as local ward member. National Highways issued a holding objection in response to the latest transport evidence that has been submitted. That holding objection runs until the 15th of June and is required in order for them to review the latest information, which was provided to them on the 29th of February, although only provided to me 2 days ago. Speaking to a representative at National Highways yesterday, I was informed that their testing of the latest information provided to them by the applicants suggests that they are likely to still object, and it is likely that the mitigation proposed would be insufficient to satisfy their objection. But they're still running their models, and it will take some time yet before they are able to formally confirm one way or another. We have also received this afternoon an objection on behalf of the Banbury Civic Society, complaining that it would cause landscape, heritage and highway impacts that could not be satisfactorily mitigated in their opinion. Part of the new documentation submitted is ecological data, and addressed some particularly in respect to skylark found on the site. Our own ecologist has rapidly looked at the information provided, and initially in respect to skylark, they say that their concerns are adequately addressed within the latest information. However, they do also note that the survey itself reveals that there are numerous other bird species on the site, 43 different bird species, 10 of which are showed as evidence of breeding or holding territory within the site. 17 of those species have conservation concerns, and there are some, including yellowhammer and linnet, on the red species list, which are not satisfactorily mitigated. As a consequence, whilst they're, from an ecological perspective, whilst some of their original concerns have been addressed, far from all. So there are still outstanding objections from the ecologist. There's also reference to, in the new information, to BNG mitigation. Whilst the report itself is broadly satisfactory to our ecologist, she has identified that there are some points of clarification and some bits that contradict other bits within the report, and that would need to be clarified prior to determination should the councillors wish to approve this development. The significant highways information, about half an inch thick of double-sided A4, has been far too much and far too technical for me to address. As I said, there is an informal response from the verbally from National Highways, but that still needs to be confirmed. We haven't had anything yet, given the timetable and the need for testing from our colleagues at the County Council. I've mentioned the agricultural land classification earlier in the presentation. I've just addressed ecology. So the applicant has specifically asked for this application to be deferred rather than be determined this evening, on the grounds that the information that they have now provided ought to be afforded more opportunity for detailed consideration. My response to that as an individual planning officer is that, well, they've had 15 weeks to provide the information prior to now. They chose not to submit anything to an identical application from that which was previously deemed objectionable. They have pointed out that there are half of the applications on the committee tonight which are older, and there's been opportunity for those applicants to liaise with the council and reach compromise. But in this instance, they chose not to enter into any negotiation with us until immediately prior to tonight's meeting. So the recommendation that I am suggesting to members is that you proceed with a determination, and if this ultimately goes to an appeal, should you determine a refusal, we then need to determine whether the 15 reasons that I'm suggesting for refusal would all be pertinent at the time of any appeal in light of the evidence that they have recently submitted. But we have delegated authority as officers in the event of any appeal to say whether or not all matters are still pertinent at any time. There has been a change to the written update for members. It was published earlier. Some may have seen it in its first form. The revised form no longer makes reference to an amended recommendation, which was referring to the possibility of us dropping some of the reasons for refusal if latest information addressed those matters satisfactorily. However, it's been pointed out by our lawyers that we have those delegated powers in any case, so we don't need to actually include that as part of the recommendation. I think, unless... let me just double check I haven't missed... no, I think I've covered all the latest updates. They are covered in written update in large part. So I'll leave it there, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have two speakers. In person, speaking, objecting, is Rob Kinchin-Smith on behalf of Banbury Civic Society, CPRE, Oxfordshire and Farthing Parish Council. You, sir, will have 5 minutes, and I'll try and give you a warning, 30 seconds. When you're in.
Thank you, Chair, members. Huscote Farm is a beautiful, unspoilt part of Banbury's countryside. It contains extensive and well-preserved ridge and furrow fieldscapes, ancient hedgerows, and biodiversity that supports an abundance of wildlife. It is our shared opinion that this site is entirely unsuitable for built development, and this view was amply supported by the planning inspector at the local plan inquiry. Developing the area would have a hugely detrimental impact on our landscape and local heritage. Increased traffic and air pollution to unacceptable levels on a local roads network that is already over capacity. Would destroy natural habitats for rare wildlife and birds and increase flood risk by removing permeable surfaces. Your planning officer has presented a thorough report outlining technical details of these aspects and explaining some of the local and national policies that this application fails to comply with. Your officer has told you about the significant concerns and objections of statutory consultees, such as OCC Highways, the Environment Agency and Highways England. Your officer has also told you of the objections from multiple parish councils, including Chacombe, Middleton Cheney, Wardington, Overthorpe, the Bortons, Farthinghoe and King Sutton, Banbury Town Council and local groups such as the Banbury Civic Society, the Berks, Bucks and Oxford Wildlife Trust and CPRE, and over 250 members of the public. In his foreword to the current Cherwell local plan, Councillor Barry Wood included the following ambition. This is a plan which demonstrates respect for the past and which seeks to preserve and enhance what makes Cherwell District special. Our dynamic market towns, the 60 conservation areas, our beautiful villages and wonderful landscape. The application before you fails to meet this ambition. The site is not allocated in the current Cherwell plan, nor the emerging Cherwell Local Plan 2040. It was specifically excluded from the current local plan by the planning inspector himself, rejecting it out of hand because of the site's landscape sensitivity and the certainty of a, quote, significant harmful erosion of Banbury's rural setting at a key gateway to the town, and traffic impacts that cannot be viably mitigated. This proposal would destroy significant remains of Oxfordshire's agricultural heritage. Ridge and furrow is present across the site, along with the rich hedgerows. This is not just an important characteristic of the landscape of this former part of Northamptonshire, it provides vital habitat for an abundance of wildlife, including red-listed species. The planning proposal predicts an increase of more than 6,000 vehicle movements per day on our buckling local roads. Importantly, this prediction does not include traffic movements from the ongoing Frontier Park development, Banbury 15, as this was not complete or active at the time of the traffic analysis. The Transport and Access Statement incorrectly classifies the A422, which would carry 70% of the projected traffic output, as a dual carriageway, failing to mention that the road becomes a winding single carriageway passing through rural villages only 1.8 miles from the site. Data provided to verify additional claims made in the Transport and Access Statement do not support the conclusions of that statement. The Frontier Park developments adjacent to this site remain empty, bringing into question the need for the proposal in the first place. Established local warehouses are unable to find sufficient employees locally, and the proposal overstates the economic benefits to Banbury. In fact, as noted by the local plan inspector, the proposal would have a detrimental impact on the economy of the town by impairing access to it. In conclusion, we wholeheartedly support your officers in their recommendation to refuse this application. In the words of the local plan inspector, development of this site would lead to, quote, very harmful landscape and environmental effects on a main entrance to Banbury from the north, south, southeast and east, as well as on the largely rural landscape of the locality. Continuing quotes, it would materially extend the built-up area of Banbury and lead to a significant harmful erosion of its rural setting. This continues quote, moreover, the traffic movements likely to be generated would trigger the need for the new southeast relief road together with other transport and highway improvements, especially to the motorway junction itself. There is no clear evidence that an acceptable programme of works could viably and practically be delivered. That was all as said by the local plan inspector. We commend your officers in their recommendation to refuse this abhorrent proposal, and we urge you as elected members to support them by refusing this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now have, speaking in support, virtually, is David Hutchinson, agent for Pegasus. You can hear us all right, sir?
I can. Can you hear me?
You have 5 minutes, and I'll try and give you a 30-second warning.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm the agent and therefore speak in support of the application. Now, normally I would be speaking about this application and referring you to the merits of the scheme, the benefits that it would bring in terms of 1,900 jobs, an investment of £120 million into the area, and explain how it sits alongside the local plan and more up-to-date national policy. I'd also be explaining about Frontier Park and how it's referred to in the local plan as being a highly sustainable location, how the impact of development can be suitably mitigated. As Mr. Bateson's already explained, this is a case where I'm actually speaking to ask that the application is deferred. A client's prepared to agree an extension of time if this is an issue about meeting council targets. More importantly, a deferral would allow time to respond to the consultation responses that have only recently been received on the application. We'd be able to provide the further modelling and other data that's required and information that's been requested by National Highways and Oxfordshire County Council. And it would allow time for that to be properly consulted upon, not only by members of the public, but also the statutory consultees. And where possible, we could overcome some of those objections. As for the background, the scheme was previously at appeal. The County Council and National Highways had not responded in a timely manner to the application, but later requested further modelling. When we offered to provide that, we're told it should have been done at the application stage. So the appeal was withdrawn over it was a month before the inquiry was about to open, to allow all that modelling to be undertaken, and then a new application was submitted. It was the same scheme, but it was supported by updated information. Now, the discussions about that modelling have been ongoing. They've been ongoing since the appeal. They've been ongoing at the time of submission and post-submission, and those discussions have clearly not been concluded. So we're seeking an extension of time to allow that work to continue. Now, in my experience on complex applications, extensions of time are normally agreed. As Mr. Bateson said, there's 8 applications on this agenda today that predate this application, and there's one that even goes back to 2021. Yet officers on this case are insisting upon a 16-week determination, and I think we're trying to put process over the substance, and I think it's important we concentrate on the latter. As for the further information, we have submitted information in the last 7 days as we've sought to respond to the consultations in the time that was made available to us. Most of the consultation responses have only been received in the last few weeks. National Highways holding objection is only 6 days old. The new information that's been provided is a transport assessment update, and that includes an explanation of ongoing work. It notes that submissions were made on the 29th of February and that we await a response from OCC and also National Highways. And National Highways, when they made their Holden objection, is asking for more time for them to do that work. The further information has been provided on ecology. We've also had the confirmation of BNG. We've also had cultural land and drainage. Now, in all fairness, I don't think anybody's had the time to digest this information properly. We've had a verbal update. It sounds like there's been some phone calls, but that isn't a proper consultation, and I don't believe that the statutory consultees have had the time to reach a proper view on these matters. So really, I think it's unfair on you, and I think it's unfair on the applicant to be making a decision on this application stage just because we're insisting on a 16-week date that we're prepared to agree to extend. As for the future, the application may well come back to committee in the near future. It may be the case that you're still recommending refusal, but it'd be an opportunity for us to certainly narrow down these issues, and an inspector would expect us to do this at the application stage and not later. No doubt that's going to save all parties time and expense if it's resolved now rather than at an inquiry. And the MPPF does tell us that our local authorities should work with applicants to address the issues where possible. We're prepared to continue our discussions with OCC, National Highways, and with your officers, and to address any other outstanding issues which have been raised today, such as ecology. and it's for those reasons that I request that this is an application that's deferred today rather than a decision made in a hasty manner. Thank you very much.
Sorry, thank you, sir. Questions for the officer? Councillor Beer first, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move.
So can we have questions? You'll be able to move
And
anything you like.
I would like to move to a debate, because at the last application there were lots and lots of questions. We didn't debate it. It was just lots and lots of questions. Now, people were speaking for longer than 3 minutes, just asking questions, and I'm limited to 3 minutes.
I appreciate your concern, but this is a system that I intend to go out with, if I can put it that way. We used it for 2 or 3 meetings and it worked well, and I believe that in answering questions it takes away questions that come in the debate system. And if we can get the questions out of the way...
Okay, Chairman. All right.
I'm sorry, Councillor Beer, but I'll overrule you for a change. Councillor Beaker, would you wish to speak? A question. Go on.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, since this application last came before this committee, obviously not very much seems to have changed. There are certain things, such as the topography, which won't change. But in terms of, we talked about the traffic information, it is up to OCC Highways, surely, and Highways England to produce this modelling. Therefore, I am interested to know exactly what sort of traffic information that the applicant has provided at so short notice at the very last minute. And also to confirm, please, obviously the warehouse sheds on the other side, Frontier Park, are still unoccupied. So in the foreseeable future, we will not have the information from that coming online to go into this traffic modelling either. Is that correct?
Councillor Beagle, dealing with the last part first, yes, the Frontier Park units are unoccupied at this stage, so we don't have more up-to-date transport data from that which was in the modelling. In terms of the modelling data provided, when the previous application came in, it was supported by something called Linsig modelling, which identifies the implications of putting all the vehicles through each junction in turn, but without looking at the knock-on implications as traffic moves through the network. So the 2 highway authorities objected and said they needed something called a VISIM model, which does take account of the implications as traffic moves through the network. Now, the VISIM model that the county and national highways have prepared for this junction previously was tested by those at Frontier Park previously who were promoting a motorway service station effectively on part of the site. The data finally was tested and revealed that additional traffic would cause major congestion at the junction, and it was at that point, when that information became public, that this applicant withdrew their previous appeal. Now, what they have done in this instance is they have been working behind the scenes, we know, to prepare a new VISIM model, because the applicant does not trust the results of the 2 highway authorities' VISIM model, so they prepared their own VISIM model. That has then had to be tested by the 2 highway authorities, and they have been apparently not part of the application process, been in negotiation with them and trying to run models and find results that are agreeable. Thus far they have not reached any agreement, but that information did not form part of the application submission. It was only after this agenda item was published that then the applicant sought to submit something that they provided as their latest iteration and update to both highway authorities 3 weeks ago. Neither party has formally responded yet. I gave you the indicative response I'd had from National Highways, but we've had nothing yet from OCC Highway Authority. I hope that answers your question.
Councillor Holland.
Yes, Chairman. Is there any reason why we can't go straight to proposal?
Yes, I've decided not to. We're having questions first. This is the last meeting. This is the last meeting of the year, and it's worked very well. I know you all want to go home, but
can I ask a subsequent question?
You can ask a question.
On what planet would it be acceptable to put 1.4 million square feet of warehouses on ridge and furrow, ancient countryside, and all the other million objections that I could think of?
I'm not a spaceman. I know no other planets, I'm afraid. So I can only speak for this particular one. In your officer's opinion, it is not acceptable for the 15 reasons highlighted.
I suspect, Councillor Holland, if you could tell me why ridge and furrows are there, I might be able to answer your question. But I'm sure there's several. Well, I know there's several answers to that one. If there's no other questions, Councillor Broad. Sorry, Councillor Neckley.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, I see there a little farm. I'm wondering, is anyone living in that farm?
Not as far as I'm aware, no. The proposal is to demolish the old farmhouse. For some peculiar reason, some of the farm buildings would remain, but there's nobody resident there.
Yeah, but it's owned by the same people or different people?
The applicant has controlling interest of the whole site.
Okay, I understand. And the second question is, visually, if we're looking on the plan, visually, it looks like a kid throw a Lego pieces around there. Those warehouses, they are not aligned. One is left, one is right. I mean, we should have some visually nice if we ever go for it, you know. If you open that one, you know what I mean, the plan.
I'm not sure it's a question as such, but yes, the illustrative layout plan did show buildings in different alignments. So some would face towards the Daventry Road, but some would be at 90-degree angle, others would be at different angles relating to the internal road pattern that is proposed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we are here to approve, we are here to make nice visual for the people around. We cannot put on. That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Broad.
Thank you, Chairman. To get the simple one over first, I notice again you successfully missed out ESD5 from your list of policies. And of course the document, you know, the local plan says anything over 1,000 square metres should have solar panels across the roof. So if it was approved, please put that in.
If it were to be approved, Councillor, then yes, there would be conditions in that respect. This is as an outline application. We haven't got the details. They'll be dealt with at reserved matters.
No, but it's a list. You know, I'm just querying the fact that it's a list of policies, and you keep missing ESD. Well, not you personally, of course, but ESD5 keeps getting missed out. But anyway, one of the questions I was intrigued by is the traffic measuring. I know, because I've done it, if you want to go to the M1, you go up to junction 10 and then go up the A361 up to Daventry. It's a rat run through to the M1. So looking at this, if this was approved, have they worked out all the HGVs that would be trying to go that way instead of getting onto the motorway, which is where everybody thinks they would go?
That is part of the ongoing debate, I believe, between the applicant's team and National Highways and OCC as the highway authority, and also Northamptonshire.
Exactly.
The suggestion from the applicant is that through routing agreements, they would direct traffic to use the M40 and the A43 if they were cutting between the M40 and the M1, so go south to junction 9 before going east. But yes, those who live in the north of the district of Cherwell know that the A361 is a rat run that people to the north do use because it runs parallel but closer to those who are in the north. At the moment, I don't think the modelling suggestions as to what proportion of traffic might use the 361 are agreed between the respective parties, and that would be part of their outstanding concerns at this point.
Yeah, and if you wanted to go to Junction 9, you'd go down the A43 through Farthinghoe, which could equally be a disaster as well. Anyway, obviously we don't know, I guess, what they're trying to do in the way of their transport management, or measuring rather. What was the other question? One of the things that intrigued me a bit as well was we keep talking about ridge and furrow. Oh no, let me go back a section. Can you remind me whether my remembering is correct that when the inspection was done for the 2011 to 31 plan, the inspector, this particular site was put forward as an exception site at that time, and the inspector made the comments that I think you were mentioning before. So in a sense this has come up 3 times. Once when that plan was originally being put forward, the applicants put it forward then as an exception site and it was rejected, and then it's subsequently come forward as a plan, and now it's come forward again. And if I could add on to the end of that, you did say at the beginning, if I can confirm, that we've only got 5 days before this time's out and it all becomes a nightmare.
In terms of the last local plan, the currently adopted local plan, yes, it was put forward as an exception site for development. As Mr. Kinchin-Smith pointed out in his presentation to you, the examining inspector there concluded that there would be significant harms, landscape, highways, the list went on and on, as to why it was inappropriate for development. And yes, in terms of the 16-week determination period, normally for determination of an application of this scale, that does expire in 5 days' time. The applicant, to be fair to them, have indicated that they would be agreeable to an extension in time. I don't think it's appropriate in this particular instance.
It also is very difficult in the timing, as the chairman said, you know, about this being the last one before the election. So to defer it to the next meeting would be extremely difficult, I would suggest.
If there are no more questions, Councillor Broad, would you like to debate and move? Councillor Broad, Councillor Beer, would you like to debate and move your recommendation?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move that we accept the officer's recommendation to refuse this proposal. We've heard a lot of information. I've got lots of scribbled notes here in indecipherable writing, but I'm just going to read out a few one-liners to persuade you that we should reject this proposal. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the officers for a clear, decisive, consistent report with 15 reasons, not 3, 15 reasons for rejecting this. Mentions air quality, it's on an unallocated sites, the visual impact. I mean, I live in Grimsby, that's my ward. I don't usually go much far other than the bridge, but when I do go up canvassing in Hardwick, I look at the sheds, as they're called. To me, a shed used to be the train shed. Well, they sorted the engine out. That was, to me, was what a shed was, but apparently warehouses are now called sheds. There's the traffic modelling, that's not been settled. We've got no satisfactory conclusion on that, either from highways or from Oxford, so we've not no grounds for approving it on highways ground. There are obviously the villages nearby in Banburyshire, as some of us call it. going up the Daventry Road. I'm sorry, I never remember road numbers, but it's up the Daventry Road. We've got objections from the Bortons, Little and Great. And in the other direction, Middleton, Farthinghoe, Overthorpe. I thought that had been taken over by Middleton, but apparently it still exists. And if any of you know Banbury, and there are, I think, there's only 3 of us who live in Banbury here at the moment, but a lot of you travel to and through Banbury, you come up here for meetings, you know the environment, a lot of you zoom off in all directions in your cars, which I don't, so you know the traffic information, but there's lots of arguments. There's a couple of ones I've written down on here. We've had this before, almost exactly 12 months ago, when the non-determination issue came up. We unanimously rejected this site. I see no reason why we should accept this site again, and therefore I'm proposing that we accept the officer's recommendations to refuse permission, and should an appeal take place, that will have to happen in due course. Thank you.
Have you a seconder? Would you wish to... Well, Councillor Beager, I'll put down a second. Would you like to speak now, or reserve your right? Anybody wish to join the debate? Councillor Chapman.
I'll be very brief. I drive past this every day because my ward starts just 200 yards up the road. When you go past the east where this is, it is a thing of beauty. The report's wonderful, but I want to put it out there clearly. It's beautiful, and it's the way into Banbury and the way out of Banbury. To destroy it would be disgraceful.
I think as somebody who goes up to Middleton quite often, I'll join in, and it will be absolutely... I mean, there's no way, I don't think it can be landscaped out, to be brutally honest, either whether you come down the 361 or the A422. And I have to say, 361 has a reputation for traffic accidents, let alone anything else. And poor old Wardington don't want any more heavy vehicles. Sorry, Councillor Wood.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I support Councillor Beer's comments on this. I thought it was insightful from Councillor Beer that we actually found out where it is he goes canvassing. I made a note of that. That was very, very interesting. I think that officers have only given 15 reasons, Chairman. Only 15 reasons for refusal. Huh. And the reason I sort of mock that is, Chairman, when you and I were boys, we were told that one reason was good enough. I still think one reason is good enough when you need it. One policy reason is good enough when you need it. 15 is luxury. And I think that, you know, members would look to make use of that. On the ecology front, I actually found that fascinating about the number of bird species that are living there, and some of which are on the red list or whatever it is, you know. My back garden, there used to be about 4 or 5 types, because I used to be one of these sad gits who used to, every January, whatever it was, sit there with my binoculars looking out the back, marking out how many. Anyway, it's gone down to about 3 now, one of which is bloody pigeons. I digress. So any ecology reasons that are that powerful to me are by definition powerful. And so I think that 15 reasons is pretty good. How many reasons do you need, Chairman? Thank you.
Just very quickly, I was disappointed, should I say. I presume those photographs were from the applicant, carefully taken. I mean, even the photographs they took, there's no way you can hide 1 million square feet of warehousing, even from the pictures they took. And if you then look at them from the top of the ridge, looking down across that valley, I mean, it's bad enough with a frontier park. So I just thought it was something that needed to be said. It really reinforces the point that it can't be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, yes, to just sum up very quickly, obviously there are 15 reasons for objection. There's 15 reasons are the same that we had before. We've talked about landscape and topography and also ecology, which are obviously very strong arguments, and they're not going to go away. They won't be changed. The things that people might be looking at in terms of traffic modelling, we haven't got complete information. The modelling on all the junctions needs to be done properly. It's not taking into account the fact that the Frontier Park warehouses have come online, so that won't be included. We've talked about traffic going perhaps into Northamptonshire to get through to the M1, but obviously representing Grimsby, I'm also talking about the excess traffic that potentially can be coming across the M40 roundabout and increased pollution on Henneth Way. We've been lucky enough at this council that the air quality in certain parts of Banbury has led to the air quality management areas 2 being removed because air quality is improved. Henneth Way is not one of those. Henneth Way is still an area of concern. This is potentially going to add to it. And I just think on all counts, and you know, going back to the height of the warehouses, I mean, at the moment we've got Frontier Park on one side. You know, should these warehouses be built with that topography on the other side? And they are a great height, was it 5 to 20 metres higher than the Daventry Road, plus the height of the buildings. You're going to be going into this horrendous corridor of warehouses on either side. But I don't think that's something we even have to imagine, because 15 reasons are enough. And, you know, I really would like to just put this to bed, and hopefully the committee will support the officer's recommendation. All very good 15 reasons to reject this application.
Councillor Beard, do you wish to sum up?
No, we've had a good, honest debate. I'm sorry if I tend to lose it when I get involved in things, but I hope you'll be able to support the officer's recommendations.
It's been proposed and seconded the officer's recommendation for refusal. It's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour of refusal?
Thank you, Chairman. That's unanimous, that application.
That's not unanimous.
Is it not? I do apologise, jump to them.
One abstention. Anybody against? Anybody abstaining?
Apologies, Chairman. So that's 17 for, 0 against, 1 abstention. Application's been refused.
It is 2 hours, so I propose that we have a break for 5 minutes so members can get their cups of tea.